3 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. A lot to get to on what is getting ready to be maybe I don't want to go so far as to say a harrowing weather week in Columbia. But for those of you who listen to us in the PD along the coast, please batten down the hatches. Got a few buddies in Charleston that are making their way up here. But, you know, I try to keep light. Even with the seriousness, you know, Charleston can flood if you, like, empty out a bucket too quick. You know, at least some parts of it. So, in all seriousness, when they need to get out, they need to get out. But this thing apparently, from what I saw this morning, is just going to kind of twirl its way up through North Florida and over by Savannah. And then it's just going to, like, park and start whale watching, apparently, off the coast of South Carolina for a couple days.
It's going to get a hotel room.
Yeah, it's just saying, like, how y'all doing? It's still August.
Coming for an extended visit.
Yeah, a little Grand Strand vacation, play a little golf.
Just missed the soccer game on Saturday. So it's like, well, you know, I was coming here for that, missed it, might as well hang out for a little
just
bit.
hang out, see what happens. But, do be careful. And certainly when things that are pertinent to the conversation matter, we'll break in with that kind of thing. I did not go get milk and bread. Got some beer.
That's right. I got plenty of that.
Got some tortillas.
Beer and tortillas. Hey, you make yourself some good quesadillas.
There you go.
Quesadilla and beer dinner for you, good sir.
So that's like bread, right? Flour.
It's bread. Yeah.
Yeah.
I count it as bread.
Yeah, it's a grain product. So is beer.
So actually, you have more bread than you thought
carbs.
you did.
You need carbs when the power goes out. Carbs.
That's right.
Yeah. Energy. That's the way I look at it.
That's
anyway, we got some football to get to. Some good stuff from Coach Mike Furry that we'll get to you in just a little bit. Gamecock's new wide receiver coach and an NFL guy in his own right. But might there be more scrutiny on – when I say scrutiny, I don't mean like critical type stuff, but – the need to quickly acclimate and develop at that position, I think, is job one on this football team this year in terms of teaching football. Now, job one may well be do whatever the heck you got to do to keep that offensive line healthy. And since you can't bubble wrap them, whatever the next best thing is, that's what you got to do. But beyond that, I think because there's a deep roster of wide receivers. A lot of good transfers, at least with a lot of good stats. A couple of nice newcomers.
With real experience.
And then, again, the I don't want to say wild card or unknown, but, well, unknown I think could be applied to Nick Harbor. There's still just a lot. We know what he can do. And, I mean, look, does anybody live up to the hype of a 99 on a video game anyway?
99 speed on a video
Well,
game.
speed, I mean, you know, I don't know what the overall rating is.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I did know the speed.
Does he catch the ball a lot then?
He does.
On the video game? Okay.
He does.
Well,
Can't confirm. He does.
As long as he's doing that, then.
Easy to put up really good numbers.
Right. But, yeah, he's one of many. And, you know, where does he fit into the rotation? What about Mazio Bennett? But we'll hear some of the things that Mike Furry had to say about his receivers as Carolina is now into the first full week of August camp, as I like to call it. So we'll get into that for you.
Preseason camp.
The Kentucky thing, I know Terry and Tyler were talking a lot about it. Elijah and I have our thoughts as well. We'll get into that for you. The Michigan situation, which is not at all surprising. There's nothing official yet from the NCAA, but if you did not hear, I guess it was yesterday that came out, right? That Sharon Moore and several other Michigan staffers
A little bit of trouble.
could be in some amount of trouble. Others believe, this has already been taken care of. You know, I mean, look, Harbaugh got out of Dodge before the sheriff came riding into town.
They expect one of us in the wreckage.
And he took a couple of guys with him, right?
He did.
Yeah. Anybody know where Wild Stallions is?
Netflix.
I agree with Andy Staples, by the way, when he said, hey, Netflix, y'all have already got it done. Go ahead and put it out, will you? Don't wait till the week before the season starts. Just go ahead and put it out.
You're just sitting on it.
I mean, because if you're like, and don't even give it a final edit. Now, he didn't say that. I'm saying that. But I saw Andy on one of his shows last week saying that. But I'm like, don't even give me the unedited. Just give me the straight sit down. If y'all want to put some back, give me the one like for those of us who already know the backstory. Because what are those documentaries typically? An hour?
Yeah,
right.
For those, yeah,
and like the first 10 minutes of this thing, because any good documentary filmmaker is going to make certain that his or her documentary teaches the viewer what's happening. You have to go into it. It's a must. You have to go into it believing as a filmmaker that no one knows the story. So you got to tell the story. I don't need that part. I want straight listening to Wild Stallions tell me, about like what he learned at the Naval Academy and how and why he applied that to Michigan winning a football championship.
I would just love to get the manifesto he wrote.
I don't have time for that. You don't either. You don't.
I got time for it, but I can try.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Sacrifice sleep for a week.
So, those two things are out there. We'll get into those things for you as well. Olympics are going on right now. Not a whole lot of huge events today, I don't think, at least as far as Americans are concerned.
I know the men's volleyball team got beat. Spoiler alert.
The full indoor volleyball or the beach?
I think it's the men's full indoor, the one that Chase Budinger participates in.
Okay.
Former Arizona Wildcat legend.
All right, well, I see them playing right now. So, okay, you know what? Maybe this is a replay. Is that what you're telling me?
I got an alert. Got an alert earlier today.
Bad. Okay, that's too bad. I like that sport. That's fun to watch.
It's very fun to watch.
Yeah,
There's a lot of really fun athleticism involved there.
Braves had a horrible weekend. I mean, if you're going to lose a series at home, don't lose it to the team that just traded away literally a third of its roster. Literally.
They were giving people away.
I mean, that's what they on the day of the deadline, the Marlins traded 7 of their players between noon and the deadline at 6.
They got rid of them.
After having already gotten rid of some players over the weekend. So, I mean.
Correction. It was beach volleyball. They got beat in.
Okay.
Chase Budinger, I thought, was playing in the indoor one.
Okay.
I got confused.
Okay, good. All right.
Easily happens.
All right. No, I hear you. There's a lot of volleyball.
A lot of volleyball.
A lot of events. By the way, Spain is about to make itself just cement itself as easily the best soccer nation on earth because they beat Morocco. They're into the semis or to the final. Excuse me, into the final. Apologies, into the final. I mean, they've got like European Championship for men, World Cup for women. They're the reigning World Cup gold or European champions in for women. They got like the U18 World Cup and they're everything. They're just
the golden age is coming back.
Yeah, it's coming.
A decade after it left.
There's another one. Speaking of soccer, I want to get into this, and we'll talk a little bit about it. Tony Annan's going to join us a little bit later, or at least he's scheduled to. I know Coach has a few things going on with his team, but we want to talk with him. And later in the week, once I know today they were going to be very busy with like a full debriefing, but we will get in touch with some folks at Carolina on how this all went down. Elijah and I were there. I thought that I was, let me just say, and I don't want to get all hokey about it, I was immensely proud of the city, our counties for what they do with sheriff's deputies and such, and city and county government leadership, the University of South Carolina, my alma mater, just across the board. I was thrilled with how it went down. I know people are complaining about some traffic, but y'all, if you've ever been to a Carolina football game, coming into or leaving from, there's traffic. It was a little worse, but I don't think it was just like exponentially worse the way I've heard some people try to describe it. I mean, I was in it too. And now Elijah was credentialed media. I was not. I was a fan. Went with my family. Elijah came, hung out with us for a little bit before he went up to the press box.
Tailgated for a soccer game.
So I'm just saying you can back me up that I was with my family, sat with some really good friends, and I paid to park like anybody else. I was straight up fan. Yes, I had the opportunity to be a credentialed media member and chose not to because I wanted to be a fan. So I was like anybody else that was in the general population on Saturday night. Now, I've lived here my whole life, and I have been to literally hundreds of Carolina games at Williams-Brice all through the iterations of the stadium from being, 50-something thousand up to 80,000. I've learned a long time ago, leave early if you don't want to worry about the traffic. And so we got there early. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I had one guy hit me and say, we got there at 5:30 and had to wait and try. I'm like, well, dude, you shouldn't have gotten there at 5:30, man. I wouldn't tell if the Carolina Gamecocks are kicking off against, Akron at 7:30 and you get there at 5:30, that's a bad idea. My opinion. If you choose to say, well, I couldn't leave, whatever, or I don't want to, okay, that's cool.
That's just how it is.
But don't complain about it because it's going to be busy. And leaving traffic-wise, look, you had a number of things. First off, I thought I had been told that, and this was a few weeks back, I had been told that there were ticket sales from more than 20 states. Turns out, according to a piece in The Athletic, there were tickets sold in every state for this event, plus several countries. Now, if you're buying a ticket in Alaska or Hawaii, I'm hoping that maybe you just happen to be in Alaska or Hawaii relative to living there, especially because United played, but maybe you wanted to see Liverpool, and Liverpool wasn't in California.
Mm-hmm.
And Liverpool has a massive fan base. But regardless, dude that parked next to me was from Orlando. Met a dude from Dallas area where we just were for media days. Met a couple from Birmingham, Alabama. I'm sure I talked with people that were from somewhere else, as we like to say, that I didn't find out where they were from. I didn't go around polling people. Hey, where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from?
You would have gotten a lot of interesting responses.
But after the game, when you and listen, where I park, and even Carolina Park and some other places, they weren't fully utilized. And so that meant a lot more pop-up parking all throughout the general area. Where I park at University House and the places behind it, I could tell were not full. Now, it was very expensive. And that's probably something that those people should have thought of at the various places where they were charging, in my opinion, too much to park. But since we have a spot there, we could pay half. They probably should have charged what I paid for everybody. And that's just my opinion. Regardless, a lot of places that are fully used on Carolina game day were not fully used for parking. And there were a lot more pedestrians walking a lot farther distance to find a cheaper place to park. Couple that with the fact that a good 50% of the people that went to that game probably had never been here before. So they're not as familiar with how some of the things work and why some of these are closed and some of these are open. And if I'm coming out of this place, why can I only go one way when I'm leaving? Things like that. I need to get back over. Bluff Road goes all the way down to Heathwood in both directions, right? But a lot of people are like, oh, I got to get over here. And there's a lot of stop and start and people getting nervous. Where are they going to, and then it started to rain. So I'm not here to make excuses for anything. You can always do something better. But for those who are complaining about that, I think if you had thought in advance, this isn't going to be typical other than the number of people. And by the way, that was a legit sellout crowd.
Mm-hmm. Not an empty seat in that stadium.
It was full.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, but we'll talk more about it. But I and I want to come back around with some of the other logistics of the game. But for those who've been complaining about traffic at the end, I think there's a lot of pretty easy reasons to see why it was different than what you typically are accustomed to 7 times a year for the Gamecocks. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. Again, Coach Annan coming up in a bit. Got some sound from Mike Furry. A lot to do on a busy Monday. This is the Postgame Show. 20 minutes after 3 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back in. It's the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. Appreciate you being with us. Coming up, we'll get into the coaches poll.
Coaches in parentheses.
Do I have to do the coaches poll news?
We can read it off. The AP is the one that matters.
Yeah, it does. The AP poll is definitely better than the coaches poll. Neither
might
one
not
of them
be a more misleading poll name than coaches poll.
Yes. Elijah says the SIDs do it. I think it's the coaches' kids. The dog.
The dog poll. They just give it out to some kid they find on the street.
They just pick.
Hey there, sport.
Yeah, just you just have your dog do it, and you just put down like 25, like the not the big milk bones, but like the little ones, and just which one does the dog go to first, second, third, all the way through 25th, and then that's the poll.
All the team names that are like Huskies, Bulldogs, all that are the ones that are chosen.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Totally not biased at all.
Yeah, but we'll get into that for you in just a bit, and more on this Michigan situation and the Kentucky situation, which are not related, but both could have implications on the upcoming season. Although, well, the Kentucky one is just, it's kind of funny. I don't know. It's funny and it's concerned. I don't know. We'll get into those. But let's finish from both of our perspectives. Again, as I said, for those of you, and again, a lot of you were there, but I know a lot of people were from somewhere else too. But nearly 78,000 attended the Liverpool United match, a 3-0 Liverpool victory, which is fine by me, by the way. I am an Arsenal fan, but I like Liverpool. There are some, how it is when you're a fan of whatever league and you have a favorite team. There will be teams that you're like, oh, I don't mind them, And then there are teams you're like, ugh.
You can't stand.
Yeah. United is one of those for me. I do not like United. I go like, again, I'm supposed to hate Tottenham more, but I really don't. Chelsea is A, Tottenham is B, United is C. And those things can interchange depending on the day. There's really no one else in the Premier League that I just don't like. I've grown accustomed to City just being that much better. So I have like a jealousy thing for them.
I still don't like them.
Relative to just dislike. But nevertheless, Liverpool won. Superstar Mo Salah did get an assist, no goal.
It was a nice assist,
and he played for over an hour, which I was very happy about. Mm-hmm. And he seemed to really enjoy himself from all accounts. And you were down, in the press area after the ball game. I certainly felt like everybody was really impressed with and enjoyed their experience.
Eric Ten Hag said he was very pleased with the atmosphere and the experience, that he found it to be pretty valuable.
Well, listen, this is bigger than any Premier League stadium. The biggest one is Manchester United's, which is just a shade over 70. So, this was a good 5,000 or 6,000 more than even they're accustomed to playing in front of. Now, granted, when they play at home, it's almost all their people, as opposed to this. People were asking me, I felt like, now you and I even had differing opinions based on where you parked and where we were and some of the things we saw. I felt like there were, maybe not 2-1, but I felt like there were more Liverpool people, at least in the early going when I was around. But then you said you came through an area where there were tons of United people. Maybe they had a special section, And
that's where, they had a viewership party over right across the street from the stadium. Not a viewership party, but like they had, like a stage.
Right.
I think they had some players there, and They had a big ordeal, and that section was pretty much all Man U fans.
I felt like there was, and then when now listen, United never scored, so I didn't ever get the chance to hear United's fans cheer for them. Their star player, Marcus Rashford, did have one nice little move where he nearly scored, but not he didn't.
He played pretty well.
He did play well. He's a great player. So, I thought there was a few more Liverpool folk. Regardless, I thought the atmosphere was fantastic. My girls were asking me, "You think they'll do the Saturday night, in South Carolina thing?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know why they would," is what I said. But when they did it and then interspersed it with clips of like classic soccer players from over across the pond, I was thrilled with that, man. I was awesome. I thought that was that kicked ass. I thought that was awesome.
It did.
And I think the folks over there, or the folks that were here from somewhere else that had not ever been to a Carolina game probably thought it was cool. And if you're somebody, who has gone to a lot of Carolina games and seen that video every week, that they changed it up just enough, I thought, instead of, I thought that was cool. Still had the rooster crow and whatnot. And then the Sandstorm Light Show at halftime, like people were like, I was just listening to people as I was walking around at halftime, like, just chatter, right, of how cool that was. And you could tell they had never experienced that before. I thought Williams-Brice and USC really showed out in a great way. And I do truly and sincerely hope that whether it's this promoter or other promoters, that because they all take notice. And I imagine there were multiple promotion companies that might have sent, if you will, a scout, like, let's go see what's up, just to see. I hope that, like I said, you can always do some things better. And yes, I know the traffic thing got a lot of y'all upset at the end, but there's, let me be honest. Let me take a pause here. I was telling Elijah this earlier. How many times after a home loss have you been in that traffic and you're like, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Sometimes even after a win, you're like, I mean, and listen.
Less intense groans.
After the game, don't forget that after any game, for like 20 minutes, basically traffic doesn't get to move because it's all pedestrians filing out of the building. So there's that part of the equation. I don't know how many of you might leave early and you aren't used to that. Or how many of you just stay really late regardless and you're not used to that. But, and like I said, there was a lot more pedestrian traffic because of how far people were walking. One thing I would do is I would really try to urge those who have these parking spots that are privately owned or even university controlled, bring the cost down next time. I get that you can't do it for free and you can't do it just super cheap, but you could do it for less.
For reasonable.
Yeah. For reasonable. That's fair. Yes.
For reasonable.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they overcharged and it ended up being a problem.
Price gouging parking spots is a nationwide plague.
Yeah. And with what people are already paying, every little bit helps, right? I mean, heck, man, I only got 2 beers inside. They were $14.
Honestly, that's not terrible, given other places I have watched sporting events.
So anyway.
There's some that'll ask for your social security number. It's weird. They're like, yeah, this is a $15 beer and we need your social security number. Why?
But I really was. And like I say, I don't want to get all sappy about it or whatever. It's sports after all. But considering we had never done anything like this ever, I think it went off very, very well. And I really didn't notice a ton of difference between that and a really well-attended Carolina football game. A little difference, but not to I think some of people are just honestly just complaining a little too much about traffic at the end of the game. Now, the fairgrounds, from what I understand, y'all might need to figure out something. I don't know if they need more personnel in there to literally move people through and stop this row and let this row go or whatever else. I don't know. I didn't park in the fairgrounds. I don't know. I don't know.
Flow issue.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know. But I heard the fairgrounds was worse than it's ever been. That's a fairgrounds issue. And yes, that's a massive place to park. And I don't know what it costs to park at the fairgrounds on Saturday. Do you know what it costs? I don't know.
No clue.
Okay. I imagine $40 or $50. I don't know. But do better. So, yeah, there are little ways to tweak this, but I sincerely hope that what we saw on Saturday leads to more events like this for Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, because I thought they did, all things considered, I think it went off very well.
A-plus sporting experience and a really cool sporting cultural crossover between the Premier League and SEC football. That was probably the coolest part about it.
Agreed. It was neat. It was neat. Glad we got to do it, and I really do hope we get to do it again. All right, we'll get into some actual college football news, but it's the off-field variety that could have an impact, including on one team that Carolina sees very early in the season. This is the Monday Postgame Show. And football season is nearly here, y'all. It means you need to find the best way to watch the big game when you're not at the ballpark. In my opinion, and in the opinion of many others, that best way is with an amazing home theater system from Integrated Media. Just one call. They make a house call to you, walk around with you, figure out what it is that you want, install it, and then next thing you know, you've got the best from Samsung, Sony. You've got Dolby Atmos surround sound systems that all makes you feel like you're there. Maybe you love what you have inside. You're ready to take it to the next level. Outdoors, Integrated installs outdoor home theaters built around Samsung Terrace TVs and Sonos outdoor speakers that are built to be outside all year. They can even handle the rains that are coming, all right, and the heat and whatever else. Looks and sounds like anything inside does. One room, whole house, outdoors, Wi-Fi that works everywhere. No better way to watch your team and be part of the action than with Integrated Media. 803-948-8327. Feel like you're there with Integrated Media. Well, we were just giving our own reviews of the immense soccer game Saturday night at Williams-Brice. Sold-out crowd. Weather cooperated by and large. A little rain beforehand and a little drizzle during the match. And then some rain on the way home. But other than that, field looked great. Stadium was fantastic. Light show was fun. People liked the fireworks. Good time had by most. If you're a United fan, you probably didn't have as much fun. Get into a few things going on around the country when it comes to college football now. We'll come back around with Tony Annan in just a bit on more of what the soccer game had for us. But first off, there is a notice of allegations draft that has been now seen now by multiple media outlets that concerns the University of Michigan. And it says that new head coach Sharon Moore is one of 7 coaches from the football program accused of violating NCAA rules over the last couple of seasons. The draft states that Moore could face a show cause penalty, maybe even a suspension, for deleting a thread of 52 texts to Connor Wild Stallions in October of last year, on the same day that reports surfaced that Stallions was the guy leading, as it says here, leading an effort to capture the play-calling signals of future opponents. According to this piece from Dan Murphy and Pete Thamel of ESPN, the draft states that the texts were later recovered via device imaging and that Coach Moore, quote, subsequently produced them to enforcement staff. Moore is accused of committing a Level 2 violation, according to this. He could be considered a repeat violator by the NCAA because he negotiated a resolution with the NCAA about contacting recruits during the COVID-19 dead period, which, again, that's why Michigan fans get all up in arms. It was just a cheeseburger when it came to Harbaugh. No, it's not about a cheeseburger. It's about the fact that it was basically almost like a double dead period, and you violated it, and then you lied about it. And then Jim said, hey, I just bought the kid a cheeseburger, to which I've often responded, what if he had taken him to the Ann Arbor equivalent of Halls? Would that have been okay? Would that have been too much? Like, I don't know which one is which. Like, where, like, just a cheeseburger. All right, so, again, if he had bought him a $70 ribeye, then Michigan fans, then you're mad at your coach? Like, where are we drawing lines here? You can't violate the dead period at all. Period. No pun intended. I don't know what's going to come of this. Probably not very much. The NCAA has lost the bulk of its teeth when it comes to enforcement, in my opinion. And there will be some who said, hey, Jim only got to coach in half the games last year anyway. And that's true, right? At least regular season. He was suspended for 3 and then for 3 again.
I guess suspended for 4 the first time.
Was it 4?
It was all non-conference games.
Okay, so 4.
Which was not very tough. But
And then this new stuff came out, and then the Big Ten slapped him with the final 3.
Mm-hmm. Which were, Penn State and Ohio State.
Yeah.
2 of those 3.
So will there be some who said, all right, Michigan has, wink, wink, suffered enough? I don't know.
I think the big story here is the show cause for Sharon Moore.
Yeah.
Because he was elevated to being the head coach, which for those games that we discussed that Coach Harbaugh was suspended for, Sharon Moore was the head coach in the final 3 of them. They rotated who was going to be the head coach for the first 4 at the beginning of the season because they had a lot of time to prepare for it. But Sharon Moore was the acting head coach in the last 3 games of the season. 2 of them were the biggest wins of the season, with winning at Penn State and home against Ohio State. So elevating him to head coach was kind of the easy choice, right? And he's kind of looked at as one of the, best young offensive coordinators in college football last season. And I thought he did a fantastic job as the OC. And he's probably learned a lot from Coach Harbaugh. So he put himself in a position to where he can be a head coach in college football for a long, long time. And at a place like the University of Michigan, that is a destination job.
Sure.
Where you can be a head coach, especially as young as he is, for a long, long time. But if he's hit with a show cause, then that completely ruins his future, because then he will be completely radioactive to other schools that play serious Power 5 football. Maybe he can get back in at a lower G5 level, but the show cause usually is even when it expires, I don't want to say total kiss of death, but you are radioactive to other big-time programs because the NCAA will absolutely be alerted as to whenever you go to another school.
I don't disagree with you in theory. In practice, I wonder, again, depending on A, how long it is, and B, what it's for, which schools. Look, and this is going to sound ugly, but I have to point it out only because, and I know that Bobby Petrino never had any NCAA issues. Mm-hmm. Quite honestly, in my opinion, his issues run past that line. I'd rather him have had bought a recruit a cheeseburger during the COVID dead period.
Yes.
But A&M
His family would too.
and Arkansas hired him again, right? So again, I don't disagree with you, but I think in today's world, because what are we for one thing? What are we looking at here? Maybe 2 years? I don't think it'll be any more than that, right? He wasn't the head coach, and he's already admitted. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's now. I want to make that abundantly clear. He's admitted. Yes, I deleted the thread of texts between myself and Connor Stout.
There's no disputing that.
Yeah, he's admitted it. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That likely mitigates some of the punishment that he may face.
Yeah, it might make it only a 2-year show cause. Even then, I mean, you could be either by Petrino, like you said, who didn't get a show cause, did not get a show cause.
No, he's just a POS.
That's right. Or you could be someone like Donnie Tyndall, who coached basketball at Tennessee for a year, got them in a lot of trouble, but they were under 500, and after his show cause, guess where he has coached since then in college basketball? Nowhere.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Sharon Moore more than likely will be coaching this entire season as the head coach of Michigan, and the show cause might not come during the season. If it comes afterwards,
and Michigan may be able to go in front of the committee and show cause.
Yeah. And like
hey, here's why we think he should, because you can do that.
Mm-hmm. They can.
It's just, and in this day and age, what's that look like? Again, we don't really know.
But if they're bad this year and they take a huge step back, because
they're probably going to go
8-4,
8-4, man.
Yeah. But let's say it's nightmarish and it goes worse and it's 5-7. Michigan might not make that effort, and now you're a head coach with a 5-7 in your only year as a full head coach, and you got to show cause.
I would hope for Sharon it's not that.
I hope so. I hope not either, because he seems like a really good coach.
And he had a thankless job last year, and he did well. I don't see
a very loyal individual.
I think they got enough talent in that league to not go 5-7. I hope. Well, I say I hope. I don't really.
It's a good league. It's a really good league this year.
But they got players. I just feel like they're going 8-4. In my head, I've got Michigan at 8-4.
That feels like destiny.
Yeah. Now again, all this is a draft. At this point in time, we don't know what it's going to look like. They are still trying to gather. Like Harbaugh's not cooperating. Connor Stallions is not cooperating. One of the coaches, and I forget who, Jim took with him, not cooperating. The draft also does have the evidence. We kept asking, why hasn't Connor Stallions been popped for that Central Michigan thing? And I'll read this verbatim. The draft states the NCAA gathered evidence that shows Stallions was on the sideline at Michigan State's season opening game against Central Michigan in 2023. Stallions was wearing a bench pass, Central Michigan coaching gear, and a disguise, according to the draft, which states that Stallions' conduct, quote, seriously undermined or threatened the integrity of the NCAA collegiate model. The draft does not say how Stallions obtained a bench pass for the Chippewas sidelines. I'll tell you how, because there are multiple people on that Chippewa staff that used to work with him at Michigan, and they got him one. This ain't hard.
They hooked this boy up.
Yeah, this is not hard.
He didn't sneak into the stadium.
No. In their own coaching gear? Listen, you don't get to go. Y'all might notice, you don't get to buy most of the coaches' gear at your local store. They have some stuff that's reserved for them. And I'm especially going to go out on a limb and say that's the case with Central Michigan.
And usually all college football coaches.
But he had the mustache. He was so Bobby Valentine, man. He had the mustache and the sunglasses.
All college football coaches, too, are control freaks. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
And if they act like they aren't, you're like, that's cool. They don't outwardly have that perception, but they definitely are.
Yeah, who is that guy?
Like, dude, if I shaved my head and shaved my face and I walked on South Carolina's sideline for the first game against Old Dominion, I'll be spotted in less than 10 seconds and forcefully removed from the sideline.
Come back on the other side. Details on an SEC school that is facing some troubles. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Postgame Show continues here on a Monday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you, staying with some college football off-field news this time of year, which usually means it ain't good. That's the thing. What I have learned in my career is if there is news that needs to get talked about out of market for a football team, it's probably either an injury or somebody done something to somebody they ain't supposed to.
Someone's winning the Fulmer Cup, which you don't want to win.
Yeah, you don't. And in this case, it has to do with the University of Kentucky. If you have not yet seen this, Kentucky has agreed, by the way, with the NCAA on several punishments related to trouble in both their football and swimming and diving programs. Two separate incidents. Real quick with the swimming and diving, apparently they have a coach who is now resigned for apparently a multitude of reasons. Some of them are really bad. That they were going way past the 20-hour-a-week limit.
For 3 years.
Yeah, for years.
Doing it for years.
Yeah, for years. And then in football, they have been investigated. And now Kentucky says, hey, we uncovered this and we turned ourselves in and we did our investigation and the NCAA looked at it and here we are. Somehow, some way, going back to the 21 season, Kentucky had 11 football players that got a job at the University of Kentucky hospital but never showed up. They just got paid. And
dream job, by the way.
Yeah, the NCAA says, and this is where I just shake my head. Again, lack of enforcement ability. Says the NCAA, believe it's reasonable for Kentucky to say that no athletic staffer was aware or should have been aware of this.
This is where wording comes in, because what I read too, I believe was from a local TV station. They worded it as the NCAA enforcement staff and University of Kentucky athletic departments agreed that it was. I was like, oh, they agreed that it was reasonable that nobody could have known or should have known that these guys were having fake hospital jobs and collecting money. I think the word agreed is carrying a lot of weight there, doing some Olympic-sized heavy lifting and winning gold at that, because that might be a bone that was thrown to them for turning themselves in, basically.
Why should no Kentucky athletics staff member reasonably have known about this? 11 football players getting no-show jobs at the university hospital? And, I mean, I don't know, man. If this was a car dealer or a restaurant or something, some booster-run private business, I still wouldn't like it.
It's easier to get away with, though.
Yeah, and it's also easier to stomach. But now you're like, oh, so wait a minute. You were paying football players? I mean, could that money have been used for real hospital employees or real hospital functions?
I'd be pretty pissed off.
Talking about hospital, man.
Yeah, I'd be pretty mad if I was a hospital employee and I was like, oh, they're paying somebody else?
Yeah. I mean, with where medical thing. I mean, again, I'm not trying to be all sanctimonious here, but I mean, and this is university run. Somebody did it. And you're telling me nobody on the athletics department staff had any inkling of this? Or just that they reasonably shouldn't? I mean, I don't know what that means. Reasonably? Define reasonably for me, NCAA and University of Kentucky.
By the way, it's one of those words you can be really fuzzy with.
And I know it doesn't matter, right? Other than how you want to portray these things, but Kentucky has to violate every single win from 2021. And that was one of Mark Stoops' 2 10-win seasons. So it knocks him down to 63 career wins.
Does that should give the opposing teams wins?
No, because it's not a forfeit. See, it's a vacated win. It basically means that it never really took place.
Which means that should change the win-loss record for Mike Leach, because I believe Kentucky beat Mississippi State that year, and that would put Mike Leach over the winning percentage threshold to get him into the College Football Hall of Fame.
If it were a forfeiture, but I don't think they count it that. Sadly, I don't think they count it that way.
This is where Mark Stoops should do the right thing. forfeit that game.
And then because it's then it's because it's not it doesn't go against him loss. It's almost like 10 games just weren't played. Which again, that's why the vacating wins penalty is one of the dumbest penalties the NCAA's ever had. And as I've said many times,
it's useless.
I understand that they do it because they don't want to harm the current participants who had nothing to do with it. I get that. But you know what? That's the risk that those in charge, Mark Stoops, Mitch Barnhart, take. And whether they knew anything about it or not, or reasonably should or shouldn't have, they're the ones in charge. They got to pay the penalty. And sometimes there's collateral damage. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. But anyway, 8 of them were ineligible. So that's what happens. All right, hour 2 coming up. Time to tell you about Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the men's clinic. Guys, sometimes you're feeling off as you get a little bit older, and there could be a multitude of reasons for that. Health reasons, mental health reasons, a combination of the two. You don't know. But you say to yourself, well, I don't need to go to the doctor. It'll work itself out. Everything else does. Don't be that guy, all right? Get to feeling better after you see Dan Balknight and his team at the men's clinic. They are experts in healthcare for men. They're dedicated to making you feel like yourself again. You can set up a free consultation and get that ball rolling. 803-875-MENS is the phone number. 803-875-MENS. And you can learn a lot more about what they do. Go in depth with a lot of what they've done for patients throughout the years at themensclinicsc.com. No such thing as one size fits all when it comes to the men's clinic. 4 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back in. It's the Postgame Show. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We are inside the Herndon Chevy Studios, downtown Columbia, wherever you might be. Thank you for being with us. Coach Tony Annan scheduled to be with us a little bit later on this hour. More on what we saw Saturday as Liverpool beat Manchester United 3-0 at Williams-Brice Stadium in front of just under 78,000. I did watch some of the highlights and a little bit of the game yesterday. And by all accounts, I will say, one reason I should have gotten credentialed is so that I could have met the great Stuart Robson, who was doing color commentary. He's a legend back in England, played for Arsenal, played for West Ham, is now he's kind of like John Madden. He's been on the FIFA video game. For those of you who ever played the FIFA video game, Robbo.
So you'd have heard him.
Yeah. You definitely have. He's very popular, and he was in Columbia doing the game. And that was one reason. But you know what? I'm okay. I'll get another chance. I don't know where, how, when.
But you got to enjoy a Premier League soccer
It was great, man.
As a fan.
It was great. And you know, like I said, we've never done anything. Look, we've had the Rolling Stones, yes. We've had U2. More recently, we've had Beyonce. We had Guns N' Roses. We had Farm Aid. We had Paul McCartney. You know, sometime early 90s, I think we had a couple of NFL like exhibition games when they took those on the road. But we've never had anything like that beyond, of course, big time Carolina games. So
it was such a cool experience.
It was great.
It was real.
And some of the shots, like with the sky, once the rain kind of left for a little bit, and I mean,
or like early in the second half.
Yeah, man, it was cool. It's like, all right. I mean, Williams-Brice looked great. I look. They did a great job with the field, but everything looked great, and the way they had it all, you know, tricked out with the rivals in red and everything.
Mm-hmm. It was just a really cool once in a lifetime moment. I've always wanted to go to a Premier League game.
Yeah.
And I always assumed it'd be just one I would go to, you know, if I ever got to go to London. That's one thing I'd like to do is see what games are in town, and I'm going to one. But to get that here is pretty special.
No, it was great. That's why I hope we get to do it again. By the way, and I'm going to pull the old Ronald Reagan trust but verify. We had a call off air, and I am now trying to verify. I trust. I am now attempting to verify, so I have sent a few texts to people who would know. But Elijah took a call off air from someone who was listening who said he was working parking, was part of the parking attendant staff at the fairground Saturday, and that the parking attendants were told they could leave before the game ended.
Foolish.
You know, if that's true,
would not have done it.
I don't know what goes through someone's head is to think, oh, well, we'll just let them all, especially all these folks who, you know, aren't from around here, just fend for themselves. And I remember while we were driving home, my daughters, one of them they had a friend, one of her old roommates was texting back and forth with them, and they had not moved in the fairgrounds in like 45 minutes. And I did feel badly for them because it took us, I mean, we sat where we were, or we parked for probably 30 to 40 minutes. Now, we got to the car just after the game ended and got straight in. But again, I told them, I was like, hey, y'all need to go to the bathroom or do whatever. Like, we're going to be here for at least a good 20 minutes because that's how it works. Because they got to let everybody out of the stadium. And so no cars go anywhere for a little bit. That's been that way for decades. But, you know, if it's true about the fairgrounds, I can only think that whoever was running the fairgrounds situation, and again, I want to be careful because I don't have all the facts yet. Again, trust but verify. That they just thought, well, you know, these people know what they're doing. They've been here before. And again, I think that's what led to a lot of the issues, is that there were actually the bulk of the folks didn't have an understanding of how it works on a regular basis. And even then, you still got to have help. Hell, y'all, if it was nothing but people that have ever gone to a Carolina game at a Carolina game, are we going to rely on each other to take care of ourselves getting out? You know what I mean? No. No. Can you imagine what that would be like? I can imagine because I've been to a whole mess of Carolina games in my life. And some of you hit me and said things like it's worse than ever with traffic at football games. I don't know. I don't know if it is. Sometimes it feels worse.
Last year was my first year, and usually it's a while before I even leave the stadium, so it's admittedly easier for me. But I've been at places and football games at places where it is horrific in the SEC getting out of somewhere. Some places you don't park even anywhere close. You find a place away from the stadium to park and then ride share into town. I've had to do that for a couple for games that I just attended. And thankfully it's not that case here.
Got a hit on Twitter from Wanda, says there should have been specific traffic directions posted on the website. That omission was inexcusable. Officials knew there were thousands of people coming from out of town. Common sense matters. Fairgrounds definitely needs a better exit plan during football season, too. Yeah, and I hit back and said, listen, even if you do post those things in the most simple terms to understand, most people aren't going to go looking for that. And that doesn't make it right or wrong. Even Pops Frisbee hit us and said, after all these events at Williams-Brice over the years, how could you not have an exit plan for any circumstance down to a T? Like I say, the best laid plans can go awry with just a few people doing it wrong or getting confused or not knowing. Like, I don't know how many – it's not really well defined that Bluff Road going south towards Heathwood and I-77 runs 4 lanes all the way down there. So I think a lot of people ultimately were probably like, well, I got to get over. I mean, I noticed that. Once we got to, like, Bernie's, I could see, like, I was like, are all of y'all going to Charleston? Because if you're going to Charlotte, if you're all going south, okay, but if you're going north, you need to be over here, and maybe most people were going that way. But like I say, I'm not going to allow that to define the evening. What defined the evening for me was that it was a sold-out crowd. It was two of the biggest brands in all of sports that came to our city. They put on a good show. The university put on a good show. I thought by and large, I don't know how difficult it was getting in. Like I said, I got there. We got to our parking place a little after 4. I just wanted to make sure. Enjoy the afternoon, enjoy family, enjoy friends, had a good time. So, and again, if it's true, and like I say, I don't know. If it's true that the fairgrounds allowed a lot of staffers to leave before the game and then had patrons fending for themselves, that's bad. I just find it hard to believe that you'd let everybody go and just leave it up to the troopers, that are outside the gates. So I don't know. But I enjoyed the game very much. And I thought Williams-Brice really looked good in person. I thought it looked really good on television when I watched the replay. And I sincerely hope we do it again, and that a few of these hiccups that might have marred the evening for some after the ball game can be corrected to, the best possible degree. But like I say, I've been to hundreds of Carolina games in my life, and the only time it's easy to leave is if Carolina's getting their tail kicked and most of the people have left at the break. And then if I leave late, then it's easy to go home. And even then, the traffic pattern does not allow, for every direction you want to go. So I'm not going to let that mar the night.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And it just, a good time to always explain the best advice I've ever gotten in terms of traffic advice from former Nashville Predators and Boston Bruins great Hal Gill. Traffic is like a zipper. You let the car in front of you go, then you go. And the person behind you lets the car in front of them go in front of you, and then you go. Mm-hmm. If we all accepted that universal rule, we'd move a lot smoother. But there are a lot of people that try to squeeze one in on you. Yeah. And that's when it can get messy. Yeah. A lot of people try to do it. A lot. We're all stuck. We're all going to the same place. We're all trying to leave. Be courteous. Let one person go, and then you go. Yeah. And the person behind you should let one person go, and then you go. It's like a zipper. Well, I wish more people would. Who said that? Hal Gill. Yeah. Former NHL defenseman. Put that on a T-shirt. That's right. Traffic. Yeah. It's a zipper. Put that on a billboard. People see it, and it might.
Our buddy John says, one main reason I picked the duplex I'm currently renting when I moved back was so that I could walk to and from games at Williams-Brice. That's my idea of beating the system. When he followed up with, can't get stuck in traffic if you don't have to drive.
Smart man.
John is someone who lived on South Bull
Breaking
Street
the system.
for almost 9 years. Amen, brother. Amen. Right down the hill, past the track, under the trestle, cut through the fairgrounds. Easy enough, right? Find a friend who's parking somewhere. Take your cooler with you so that you're not a complete, sponge. So I'm down with that, sir. I am down with that. 803-404-6100 to join us on the program. If you want to weigh in on this, good time, bad time, somewhere in between, we'll get into all of it for you. Come back on the other side of the break. The coaches poll is out when it comes to college football 2024. And I know y'all all have been waiting with bated breath for this one. Well, we'll tell you who the coaches think is the best team in the country when the postgame show returns. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Monday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you. Coach Tony Annan coming up in a bit, plus headlines of the day, drive around the SEC, and more. And I imagine we'll revisit some of this in the drive around the SEC. But the coaches' poll is out. If you have not yet seen the coaches' poll, and I know Elijah Campbell has.
Guilty. I saw the spoilers.
I'm going to give you a second here. Who do you think? I'm going to give you 3 teams. Who do you think is number 1? And I'm going to do it alphabetically when I give you the choices so as not to spoil it. Georgia, Ohio State, or Texas? Which of those teams is number 1 in the coaches' poll?
And while you're thinking, I'll go ahead and give you a hint.
Okay.
It's the coaches' dogs that are filling these out.
Well, there you go. Now that you've thought about it. Yes, Georgia is the number 1 team in the country. 46 first-place votes of the 54 that were cast. That's how many get to vote now? Just 54 coaches?
How do you get chosen? Or maybe it's only 54 that actually turned it in.
I was going to say, how many turned them in? Yeah.
The class didn't do the homework assignment.
Actually, I got 55. Oh, sorry. Wow. Okay. Okay, hold on a minute. Who the hell voted Michigan number 1? I didn't even see that Michigan got a first-place vote till just now.
Probably Sharon Moore's dog.
So there's 55 votes. Georgia gets 46 of them. Ohio State got 7 in second place. Oregon is third with no first-place votes. That's why I gave Texas as a choice. I didn't go far enough down to even – I guess I looked at it the first time, just didn't even realize Michigan had one next to their name. But Texas is fourth, but has first-place vote.
Steve Sarkisian's dog.
Alabama is 5th. Mississippi is 6th. I like them, but, man, I'm telling you, seen that movie. Notre Dame is 7. Michigan is 8 with first-place vote.
Which I believe is the lowest a reigning champ has gotten in the coaches' poll.
Well, everybody knows. I mean, look, they
have 2 returning starters on offense.
Yeah.
2.
But you know what, Elijah? If they had like 8 returning starters on offense, but Jim Harbaugh was still the coach of the Chargers, I'm still putting Michigan down there, man.
I'm saying that even top 10 for them is generous.
I agree.
That's very generous.
Yeah, I got, again, I feel an 8-4 coming for Michigan. Maybe some close losses, but anyway. Penn State 9, and Florida State is number 10, highest-ranked team out of the ACC. Well, I could make an ACC joke right now, but I won't. If y'all hadn't, well, never mind. They did it again. You saw that, right?
Oh, they're continue. Oh, they got community noted.
They did it again.
They got community noted this time.
They don't. I think they're like high-fiving each other.
Shameless. It is shameless. Not only do they not realize how lame this is, they're embracing how lame they are.
Missouri is number 11. Oof. I'm not saying I just, man, that's lofty.
Those are big expectations.
Lofty. LSU 12, Utah 13. What is a Ute? Clemson is 14th. Tennessee 15. Oklahoma 16. K-State 17. Then Oklahoma State, Miami, and Texas A&M round out the top 20. The final 5 in the preseason coaches poll. Arizona State at 21. Then NC State.
Whoa, Arizona State?
Oh, sorry, Arizona. My bad.
Oh.
I was looking at NC. Yeah, sorry. Arizona, then NC State. Did I say Arizona
I
State?
about passed out, yeah.
I apologize.
I about fainted in the studio.
I apologize.
These dogs
Arizona.
do some research.
Yeah, Arizona at 21. NC State at 22.
There we go.
Southern California 23. Kansas 24. And the Iowa Hawkeyes at number 25. If you're wondering, Washington, who played for the national championship last season, is number 26, and South Carolina did pick up 10 points in the poll. I don't know how many votes that is. Y'all know how it works. The scoring system is you get 25 points for a first-place vote, and you get 1 point for a 25th place vote, and everything in between corresponds accordingly. So, anyway, Carolina got 10 points. Other SEC schools, let's see. Auburn got 25. Kentucky got 12. Florida got 11. And that's it.
You know how I know that your assessment of coaches' dogs filling out the poll works?
Tell me.
Or how I know that tracks?
Tell me.
It's because Washington is just outside the top 25. You thought Michigan lost a lot. Washington lost even more, lost their coach, and is working at the bare minimum and moving into the Big Ten. They're not going to be 26. They're not going to be the first team outside the top 25. They might be really bad this year.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to take a step back. I think Michigan will be solid. I think they'll be good, but they're not going to be what they were the last 3 years, right?
Well, because Michigan's always good,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
for the most part.
Yeah,
minus Brady Hoke days.
Yeah, but I mean, Michigan's
Last
always
Rich Rod
good
days.
for a bare minimum 8 or 9 win season, and then you just take your chances with the other ones.
And Washington completely lost to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. Because they're all playing in the NFL now. Some of them have also transferred away.
Right.
And they lost the coach that made them completely dominant. So, as good as I think Jed Fish is a solid coach. I think he did a really good job the last year at Arizona. At the same time, taking over that program with a bare cupboard and having to play in the Big Ten. And they got a tough Big Ten slate. Might get ugly. That's how I know dogs are voting, though, because they're Huskies, so they get the benefit of the doubt.
We'll have other polls that come out, and then obviously one that matters once half the season has been played. But Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Notre Dame, Michigan, Penn State, Florida State. Which of those teams does not finish in the top 10? It could be more than one.
Can you say that one more time?
Okay, well, all right, so the top 10, Georgia, Ohio
the
State.
entire top 10. Oh,
yeah,
Michigan. Yeah.
Michigan.
Yeah. Because usually every year.
So you think Ole Miss will finish in the top 10?
Yes.
Okay.
Feel good about that. I don't feel good about Michigan coming in the top 10. I would have put Penn State over Michigan. I think Michigan's probably the most overrated team in their own conference.
Michigan 944 points to Penn State's 889 in 8th and 9th, respectively. Florida State 867 in 10th. I agree. I might have had Michigan down where LSU is at 12, somewhere in there.
Yeah, even then, I mean, I probably outside the top 15, maybe. I know they had a loaded recruiting class. They recruited really well, but it's a different world there in Ann Arbor, right?
And and I'm not hating on Michigan. Again, Michigan's always really good. I got zero issues here with Michigan.
I just have issues with this particular
team. To expect this Michigan team to beat Ohio State again and to go to the Big Ten title game again, I just don't see that. Hey, if we're all proven wrong, great, more power to you.
Oh, like it's at this point in the second half, dude. If Michigan's up on Ohio State in the second half by more than a touchdown, Ryan Day might get fired before the game ends, regardless of outcome.
They have.
I'm half joking,
there is so no.
It's gonna be.
There's so much pressure on them.
They gotta beat this Michigan.
Yeah,
you have to beat Michigan.
Well, and I don't listen. Let me look at. I mean, again, Ohio State's like Georgia. I think they're gonna be favored in every game they play, right?
The only one they might not is they go to Oregon.
Oregon, yeah. I mean, obviously, okay.
We might even get a rematch of that game.
The first three, they should be favored by like a combined 100 points. Akron, Western Michigan, and Marshall. Then they go to Michigan State, heavy favorite. Home with Iowa, heavy favorite. At Oregon, I could. Yeah, toss up right now. Toss up. Home with Nebraska, heavy favorite. At Penn State, I could see Ohio State minus anywhere from 3 to 7.
Yeah.
Feels right?
Yeah. It's a wide range.
Home with Purdue, heavy favorite. At Northwestern, heavy favorite. Home with Indiana, heavy favorite. Home with Michigan, heavy favorite.
Mm-hmm. They should be.
I would say, when I say double digit, I'm not saying like 30, but
10,
12,
11 and a half.
Yeah.
Multiple scores.
Yeah.
With that. Just a multiple score favorite in these games.
So, I mean, honestly, 2 games, depending on where Iowa is on October 5th, 3. Otherwise, I think there are 2 games where Ohio State would be single-digit favorites or perhaps, again, potentially an underdog at Eugene. But if they are an underdog at Eugene, it will be no more than 3 points.
might be a pick 'em.
Yeah, that's what I say. I think it
This
could.
Ohio State roster.
They're
I don't know if
loaded.
people realize
Oh, my
how
God.
loaded this roster is. They got so many guys that came back. They upgraded the quarterback position. You got an all SEC running back to go ahead, pair with your all Big Ten running back. Your offensive line's elite. Your defense is elite. And, most of them are coming back. And you added Caleb Downs from Alabama,
Yeah,
who was a freshman All-American.
yeah.
That's
I mean, I hate to say it.
stupid.
I wouldn't even say this for
a
Georgia.
stupid roster.
But you might from the to your point about Ryan Day, you might be looking at national title or bust.
It's the best roster in the country when you're just looking top to bottom. It is the best ensemble of college football players that any team is going to throw out in 2020.
And I agree that Georgia is the number one team in the country, but I will be honest, I'm a little surprised that the disparity is so great in terms of first place votes.
I am too. I'm very surprised. I think when it gets to the AP, I think we're going to see that be a whole
Tighten
lot
up.
closer. Yeah, between Georgia and Ohio State.
Yeah. Come back on the other side, friend of the station. I think he was already on once today, but it's such a big weekend that we're going to do it again. Coach Tony Ann, Gamecock men's soccer head coach, joins us when the postgame show returns. I've been telling y'all about AAA Heating and Air for a long, long time and how they've done great things at my house. And every once in a while, something goes awry. The system that keeps my children cool upstairs is 17 years old, and it had a little issue. Called AAA Heating and Air. My guy Ray came out. Ray was awesome. Came out Saturday morning, y'all. Told me exactly what was up. Got it going. My kids were happy, which is all that really matters. So, listen, sometimes it might be a brand new system, but sometimes you might have a good system and you just need to get it tweaked and fixed. AAA Heating and Air, 803-677-1500. If you need a quick service call, that's the phone number. Ready for something new to make sure that you got years and years of comfort and protection? Call AAAtoday.com. Get a free estimate. All you got to do is punch in a few quick things, and the website will tell you exactly what it's going to cost you. Then you get 12 months, no payments, no interest. You get a 15-year parts and labor guarantee. You get a rebate. Listen, they're great people. AAA Heating and Air. Tell them I sent you.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start off with a couple here in Richland County. I-77 northbound before Killian Road near exit 22. Got another one on I-77 southbound. This one's over at US 21 and exit 24. In Lexington County, we have a few to get to as well. One on St. Andrews Road near Harbison Boulevard and Emory Lane. Another one on St. Andrews Road, but this one is near Tram Road. Got one on New Orangeburg Road at Platte Springs Road. And lastly, one on Corley Mill Road at Andrew Corley Road.
All right, welcome back in. I think we'll have a coach here in just a second. Jay and Elijah with you on this Monday afternoon. 803-404-6100 for you to be part of the program. Keeping an eye on America and Brazil men's indoor volleyball. Set number 3, 20-16 USA. This is intense. I love this kind of stuff, man. Don't watch it very often, but I love it.
So it makes it even better when you don't get to watch it very often.
That's right. That's right. Like that rowing the other day, man, watching America win a gold medal. I was like, I don't know how much rowing is on television.
I will watch America win a gold medal in Cracker Barrel tea games if it meant they were winning.
Well, as long as I could go to Cracker Barrel.
Now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I would love a casserole.
Always a pleasure to have Coach Tony Annan on the program. If Gunner didn't hog his time so much, we'd have him more to talk, English football and English beers and other things. I had an old speckled hen the other day, Tony. I had to go English. So how about that, huh?
Was that Sam Smith? No, he doesn't make speckled hen.
No, I can't remember who makes it. I don't know the name of the brewer, but it was pretty. I was looking for a Boddington's, and apparently you can't get enough Boddingtons in America right now for whatever reason. So I was told that old speckled hen would fit the bill. You know what? It tasted a lot like Boddington. So, but I had to go English when it came to beer for a little bit, so that made it more enjoyable. What did you enjoy on Saturday?
I'm not drinking at the moment, so I didn't enjoy anything.
It's season time, right? Yeah, it's season time.
It's season time. My head's down, and I'm not on no alcohol at all.
Well, that's probably smart. Maybe one day I'll adopt that policy, but we'll find out. I know some, and this is not your department, so I'm only going to say some have said, well, it was hard getting out of there after the game. All right, well, it always is. Tony, I thought the match was fantastic. I thought the facility looked just amazing, and I've been in it I don't know how many times in my life. The pitch was great. It certainly seemed as if both clubs really enjoyed their experience. As someone who played Premier League football, as someone who does it for a living and has his whole life, what did Saturday mean to you with what you do now?
I've been in some pretty cool environments over my career, but I thought Willie B was amazing. I thought the grounds crew had done an amazing job. I was on it Thursday before the game. I got to walk it, and it was just like what I would give to play on this pitch. And then, obviously, the fans made it a great environment, right? We were the only venue that sold out. It was packed, which made it even better. I spoke to some of the Man U guys and Liverpool guys, and they were all really, really excited about the quality of the pitch, the size of the stadium, how packed it was. So all around, all bonuses and all plus points for Columbia, Gamecocks, whoever came from everywhere. And yeah, look, traffic was, I sat in it as well. I was in the traffic, but at the end of the day, you put 77,000 people in a place, it's going to be busy.
Right.
Certainly. No, certainly. And Tony, after the game, Reese Bennett talked with some reporters, near the field, and he was talking about how great of an experience was playing in front of that many people, and just as well as anybody, the Premier League, they don't have stadiums that have the capacity that Willie B does, and to have it pretty well mixed between Liverpool and Man U fans. What was your viewpoint of seeing a Premier League game in America with that many people crammed into it with a pretty well split crowd?
Again, it was like, it was heaven on earth for me. It was two of the biggest brands in football, whether you're a fan or not. You know who Liverpool is, you know who Man United are, and to see them in our stadium, we all got asked, I think, at some point from somebody, why Colombia? Why did they pick Colombia? And I think the answer was, this is why. Look what we did. Look at the event we pulled off. Look at how good it was. Look how successful it was. What a great game it was. And everybody seemed really happy. So that's why it was Colombia, right? And I think that's the answer. Is we managed to pull it off and do it really, really well. And, to be there, to be part of it, to have access to the team beforehand, Liverpool, when our Stone Stadium, training in Stone Stadium, got some unbelievable pictures with Gamecocks in the back of McAllister and back of Mo Salah. I mean, what a great experience for our guys. I thought it was just an unbelievable event for the whole city. It was great. I was so proud of it. It was brilliant.
Talking to Gamecock men's soccer coach Tony Annan, again, who played in the Premier League and obviously has been coaching and working in professional soccer since his playing days. On that note, Tony, as a player, as a coach now, give us an idea of where these two clubs are with 2 weeks out. We saw Mo Salah play for more than an hour. We saw Rashford out there a lot. I know there's some guys banged up for both clubs and a couple of international players that were on duty either at the Copa or at the Euros didn't make the trip to the U.S. But from the standpoint of ramping up for the season, what's it like 2 weeks out?
I mean, at this point, I think I forget which one I talked to, but they said, they were pretty much almost set to give everybody 60 to 70 minutes. And if you're giving your big players who are going to play from the get-go 60 to 70 at this point, you're really close to being ready to go. So the fact that we got to see so many very good players playing good minutes, which we called that before they came in because it was so close to the season, that was obviously great that it wasn't just reserve team or just kids, even though Liverpool put a bunch of young guys on. They were very good as well. So I think you got a glimpse of the future of Liverpool too. But yeah, I mean, the only people who weren't there were the guys who played in the Euros, who've had a long summer at the Euros. And they just returned to training. I know the Liverpool guys returned to training yesterday in Liverpool. So, you're missing Van Dijk, you're missing Bruno from Manchester United, Trent from Liverpool as well. But there wasn't that many missing that would have made it, and the guys at Copa America from Man United as well. So
right.
There wasn't too many missing, but I think what you saw there was a good indicator of what you're going to see in the Premier League in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Onana in net for United. No Alisson for Liverpool either for Brazil. But
yeah.
I mean,
but I mean that goalkeeper was amazing.
Yeah.
He had a great game.
He did.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask about, too. I mean, the quality of soccer on Saturday night was top-notch, and I think, a lot of people that might live here and go to the game, maybe not watch a ton of Premier League soccer, got a good dose of what Mo Salah does with that assist that he had early in the game and some of the his ability to handle the ball with his feet. But what was kind of your assessment of the game in terms of just how it was played? I mean, Liverpool won 3-0, but Manchester United, I thought, did a really good job of getting a lot of quality chances and making the game really interesting.
Personally, I thought Man United were quite poor for what I expected them to be at the stage of where they would be. I wasn't impressed with United. I thought, and that's not me being biased because I don't like them. That's me just looking at it as a fan. I thought they weren't anywhere near the quality of Liverpool. I thought both teams were quite sloppy, first 15, 20. I didn't think it was as good as what you're going to see. Obviously it's pre-season and it's a few weeks of the season, but I think there was enough entertainment and enough good moments that excited the crowd, and they did enough to make it a decent match. But maybe I'm just too critical. I wasn't overly impressed with the game, but like I said, the whole environment was outstanding, which made it really enjoyable.
Did anyone who was a native of Liverpool or Manchester give you any grief because you're from Newcastle?
No. Nobody. There's a funny one. I ran into Dan Ashworth. I was coming out of one of the suites, and Manchester United's suite was next to that one. And Dan Ashworth walked out at the very same time. And obviously, if you don't know who Dan Ashworth is, he's the guy who he quit on Newcastle and moved to Manchester United, and it was very controversial.
Yeah.
And I actually know him because my old boss was his boss at Newcastle. and we kind of stopped and looked at each other. I was like, "Hey, Dan," and he he looked a little awkward at me, but we chatted. But it was just a moment where I was like, "Hey, I'm a Newcastle fan, and you walked out on us," sort of thing. So it's quite funny.
Well, at least you didn't hit him. So
No.
No, you wouldn't do that. If you were in England, mate. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, people. I'm kidding. Again, I know that the logistics and whatnot are not your department, but from your perspective, with what you know of the community, and I say the community in this country now, you feel good about our opportunity to do this again in Colombia next year, a couple years from, what do you think?
I do. I think, like I said, I talked to the TAG guys on Thursday when we were standing on the pitch, looking at the pitch, and he said, this is by far the best field these teams played on, and I've been to every venue, and this is by far the best surface they'll play on. And he said, and this is the only venue that is sold out. So those two things right there for a promoter and, for a marketing company are huge. So I do think the way the event went, the logistics of it and the management of it from all the staff, from the CLA guys down even to the Gamecocks, operations people, the way they did it and the way they pulled it off, I think, sorry, that's a trainer.
No, that's all right.
I think we've put ourselves in a really good position to.
No, you're at work. Tony's at work, y'all. That's fine.
Yeah, sorry. The trainers are very loud. I think we've put ourselves in a really good position. I think we have. I think I'd love to see an international game here. In the future, getting closer to the World Cup. Yeah. There's going to be plenty of opportunity there, but I think these tours are always looking for good venues that, at the end of the day, when you sell 77,000 tickets, someone's making money. So,
right.
If that's the driving factor, I think we did a really good job.
Yeah, maybe an international friendly before the World Cup or something like that. I'm here to help promote it. So
why not?
We'll see.
I
thought it was great, and kudos to what you did to help these guys out and so many others. And of course, both Tony and Shelley's teams kicking off here in a couple of weeks. GamecocksOnline.com for all your ticket information. The whole home schedule is over there, and go see both clubs at the Graveyard throughout the course of the year. Coach, we appreciate you, and we'll see you again real soon. Thanks as always.
Anytime. Thanks.
You bet. That's
Bye-bye.
Tony Annan. This is the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Thanks again to Coach Annan for joining us. He's great. He's great. Again, GamecocksOnline.com for season ticket information for both men's and women's soccer. Big things expected as always. Let's get to the poll question. I heard a spot running for that. That's what we call it. That's an industry term.
That's right. A spot. You might know it as a commercial.
Commercial. Greatest Gamecock sports moment since 2000. Final poll. Which of these is your favorite? Now, I want to remind you, these were the 4 individual moments that won their qualifying heats.
Yes.
Last week.
Hence the term final poll.
That's right.
If I
We've had a few questions about that. Like, how is this not this? Listen, we put 16 of them out there. They got voted upon. 4 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 1 winner per day. They've advanced to the final here. And these are the choices. The 2010 baseball title versus UCLA. The 2011 baseball title versus Florida. The 2017 women's basketball title over Mississippi State. And the 2010 football win over, at the time, number 1 Alabama. Again, this is going to run all week long. But early on, overwhelming right now. Actually, the 2010 College World Series championship against UCLA.
60.5% of the 435 votes.
Kind of running away with it, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to run all week. So if you're passionate about one of these other 3 and you would like to see a comeback, you have all week to do it.
Yeah, just start about, 2 or 3 dozen or more Twitter burner accounts.
Yep, which is something people do all the time anyway.
Sure. Really? You think there's a lot of bots and burners on Twitter?
That's almost all it is now, I would say. Yeah.
I never. So most of this isn't legit, you think?
Who knows? I don't know if the bots vote, but the bots are there.
Yeah.
There are bots everywhere.
Yeah. But not here. Not for this vote. These are all legitimate Gamecock fans.
That's right. We do not allow bot participation.
Yeah, we did.
Don't ask how we police it, but we do.
Yeah, we did get a couple of questions about how exactly it went down. But again, y'all chose.
That's right. Or your bots did.
That's right.
Bots only follow instructions.
Until Skynet takes over for real.
And then they turn on us.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming. I just want to make sure I'm gone. That's all.
It could be
It's
sooner than
going.
you think.
It's coming. Don't.
That intelligence won't be so artificial anymore.
Yeah,
It'll become very real.
Don't you fret. It's on the way.
I've seen iRobot.
Hey, listen, I've seen Terminator 2, man. I've seen Terminator, but Terminator 2 really let you know that you're in trouble.
That it's coming.
Yeah. So, pull it for us. But anyway, yeah, this will run until, what, Thursday night-ish?
Friday.
Oh, until Friday. Oh, wow. I won't be here Friday. So you're going to have to celebrate this and hand out, the movie passes and free T-shirts to the winner without me.
That's right.
Unless you would like to go do what I'm going to be doing. Would you like to trade places?
I would absolutely not like to trade places.
I will be moving a daughter back into a dormitory, which is always fun in the South in the summer.
I'm sure you're very excited to do that.
Dude, you should have seen me last year.
Oh, I'm sure you were drenched.
I knew I should have brought it. I should have brought a third shirt.
A third shirt.
Thank God I brought the second one that I could drive home in. So, yeah. And it was 97 degrees or something. It was just stupid. It was stupid.
Miserable.
I lost a little weight.
Well, that's one way to do it.
Don't worry.
If you've never seen Nathan For You,
I put it all back on. I had a couple beers and put it all right back in, but at least for a minute.
Maybe, who knows, that would be a good endorsing way to lose some weight, is just move people into houses.
Well, I imagine that's one reason those dudes are in great shape, man. But, yeah, I'll be doing that on Friday. And then I'll be doing it again next week. This is what I get for having a lot of children.
That's right. This is why I don't have any.
It was nice when they all went to one school or, at least in the same town, and there was no dorm.
8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Every day.
That's right.
Drop them off, pick them up.
Yeah.
living in your house.
Heaviest thing I had to hold was like a backpack for a minute while I got out of the car. Not anymore.
Nope. You're moving furniture now, buddy.
Headlines of the day coming up. Sound from Coach Mike Furry on what he's doing with Gamecock receivers, drive around the SEC, and more. This is the Monday Postgame Show on the Game Network.
Yeah, sure. Moving somebody out of an apartment or into a dorm or a house or whatever is a good way to maybe lose a little extra pounds like our friend Jay Phillips did last year, and he probably will this year. But there's a more effective way to be able to do this as well. I have discovered a more effective way to do this, and that is my friends over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss. My friend Paul Grant and Shaylin, both of them over there have been fantastic coaches to help me learn the secret to weight loss, to help my body burn fat better, more efficiently, and in turn help me sleep better, help my lifestyle, and help me create a sustainable lifestyle for longer, healthier living and be able to be more cognizant of the things that I put in my body. Those are just some of the many things that Columbia Secret for Weight Loss helps you with. And if you'd like to learn the secret of losing up to a pound of unhealthy fat per day like myself and start your own success story, give them a call, 803-824-4210, 803-824-4210, or ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com. Results may vary. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways, and we got a couple of big ones, 3 big ones to get to. One has the right lane completely blocked on I-26 eastbound between 77 exit 116 and US 21 and exit 119. We also have 2 left lanes blocked on 77 northbound at Killian Road near exit 22, so traffic is at a standstill there right now, it looks like, as well as one on 77 northbound a little further on near exit 24. So a multitude of accidents having those lanes blocked. We also have a couple more minor ones on Hardscrabble Road at Clemson Road, I-20 west before Broad River Road and exit 65, and 26 west at Piney Grove Road.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Monday. Welcome back in. Also, the final hour of the postgame show, along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's start with what's going on around college football. The coaches poll is out. So many of you were just waiting anxiously for what the coaches thought about the upcoming season.
And their dogs.
That's right, yes. Whether it's their dog, their kid, their SID, some intern at the office. And heck, of the 55 coaches that vote, maybe 5 or 6 of them actually decided here in August to go ahead and vote, right?
Because the ones that don't have enough to do right now here in August are the ones who will not be having a job closer to December.
Yeah, not even sure we still have a coaches poll, but we do. But Georgia is the number 1 team in the country with 46 of the aforementioned 55 first-place votes. Ohio State's second. They got 7. Oregon's in third with no first-place vote. Texas got 1. I think it was Steve Sarkisian.
Steve Sarkisian's dog.
I don't know if he votes. I don't know. I don't have a list here, and I've been too busy today to look up which coaches are voting this year.
Or which ones actually care to turn in a ballot.
Well,
filled out by whoever.
Listen, their name is on there, so, like anything else, they're responsible.
Derek Rose's name was on his SAT, and guess what he didn't take, Jay Phillips?
Texas is 4th. I'll leave it at that. 1 first-place vote. Alabama 5th, Ole Miss 6th, Notre Dame 7, Michigan is 8. Michigan got a first-place vote, and it's not Jim Harbaugh. It may or may not be Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore may or may not be coaching the Michigan Wolverines, and we'll tell you about that in just a minute. Penn State 9, Florida State is number 10. Some other quick particulars I won't give. Well, I'll run it down real fast. There will be a quiz. Missouri's 11. Then LSU, Utah, Clemson, and Tennessee at number 15. Oklahoma is 16th, followed by K-State, Oklahoma State, Miami, and A&M. Number 21 is Arizona, and then it's NC State, Southern Cal, Kansas, and Iowa. Washington came in right at the number 26 spot, the team that played for a national title, not even ranked. Kentucky got 12 points. Florida got 11 points. South Carolina got 10 points out of the SEC. There was one other one. Wasn't there, Elijah? Yeah, Auburn got 25. So there you go. So Carolina did get some points, some votes. Don't know how many. Speaking of Michigan, Sharon Moore, according to a draft obtained by multiple media outlets of a notice of allegation, violated multiple NCAA rules. This would be the second time that Coach Moore, and in separate incidents, would have violated NCAA rules as a Michigan assistant. He, along with Jim Harbaugh and some others back in the COVID year, violated a dead period. That one they've already faced some punishment for. This, though, would be potentially even more harsh because, again, it would be a second offense. And he could face a show cause penalty and possibly a suspension. He deleted a thread of 52 text messages to the now infamous Connor Stallions, the staffer. We never really know what he was officially called at Michigan, do we? But he deleted a thread of 52 texts on the same day that news broke that Stallions had been leading the charge for Michigan to illegally obtain opponent video. The draft states that the texts that were recovered were done so through a device imaging process. Don't know how that works, but they got them. And then, quote, Moore subsequently produced them to enforcement staff. He is accused of committing a level 2 violation. So, again, the fact that he produced them to enforcement staff is obviously an admission that, yes, indeed, I did this. There are other staffers that could also be in trouble. We do not have a timetable as to when the NCAA's Committee on Infractions will levy a penalty against the University of Michigan. But, again, if it's a show cause, I expect Michigan and Ward Manuel, their AD, and their school to support him in said process. I really do. Now, as you pointed out, Elijah, if things were to go horribly south and this doesn't happen during the school year, or during the football season at least, they could certainly turn on him. But, man, that'd be a bad look.
Oh, it would be, especially considering how hard they backed Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
During the entire ordeal, like almost willing to sue the conference.
Right.
Over the suspension, they were
yeah.
so far behind them, and if they are not able to,
remember, then all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, you know what? No, actually, it's good. We're all good.
Actually, this is fair. We're cool
It's
with
good.
it now."
Yeah, thanks. Sorry
If they don't
about that
afford
suing
Strone
you
more-
thing.
Yeah, if they don't afford Strone more of those that same grace, I think it would be a pretty bad look.
Well, what happened, Ward? Did you get all the evidence that the entire conference had supplied against your school? We're just here to play Penn State.
We're tired of being distraction.
Yeah.
Boys got to play football Saturday.
So it's not about the fact that almost every other school in the conference had something against you. Moving on to Cincinnati.
Yeah, we're on to Cincinnati.
Kentucky is also in some football trouble as we continue our integrated media headlines of the day. They have to vacate wins from 2021, 10-win season, a 10-win season. They're vacated. They're not forfeitures, vacated. According to Sam Kahn of The Athletic, the school reached an agreement with the Committee on Infractions on a case involving impermissible benefits for at least 11 football players who received payment for work they didn't perform between spring of 21 and spring of 22. 8 of the players competed while ineligible. But according to Sam, he writes, Kentucky and the NCAA enforcement staff agreed that no Kentucky athletics staff member, that would include the football staff, that's athletics after all, no Kentucky athletic staff member knew or reasonably should have known about the payments, so the program will not be hit with a failure to monitor violation. If you're wondering, well, Jay, why are you laughing? Reasonably should have known. I mean, they're just working at like a car dealer or some fast food joint and just, got it. Nope. They were jobs at the University of Kentucky Hospital in Lexington,
which the university kind of operates.
Certainly seems that way when your name's on the building. But hey, that's just me.
So what we are.
Why would an athletic staffer know that? I don't know. Who else knew?
What we're being asked to believe is that the university was not going to tell the athletic department that 11 football players were going to get jobs but not have to show up.
No-show jobs.
That's right.
At a hospital.
Which there's some pretty important stuff that goes on.
I mean, come on, man. Mark Stoops has to vacate 10 career wins. Elijah made a good point. One of those was against Mississippi State, but again, it's not a forfeiture. So Kentucky doesn't lose the game. They just didn't win the game.
But you can't, if you're Mississippi State, you can't lose a game that never happened.
Would that change the math enough? One game? I don't think one game.
I saw I didn't verify it, but I saw like he misses the cut, and it's not by much.
And what we're talking about here is Mike Leach is like at 59-point-something% to be considered as eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame, and there is a movement afoot to get Mike Leach posthumously into the College Football Hall of Fame regardless. And the Hall of Fame has very mildly pushed back saying, hey, listen, we got to set some level of criteria, and that's one of them. And if we, look, I get it.
My criteria is right here, buddy, and these are 2 birds.
Yeah. But I don't think
Use your brain.
one game that didn't get played, if you redo the math, probably doesn't alter it, and it probably bumps it a couple of.
And technically, that game they lost was in 2022, but this occurred in that time frame.
Yeah. Well, the only ones they're vacating so far are the 21 season so far. If they and now that they've agreed, I'm air quoting, to all this, then I suppose anything beyond that isn't good enough.
It would be a little lame because you have to vacate the games in which these 8 ineligible players played. So if we identified these players and if they took any snaps in that game against Mississippi State that they won in 2022, then we're going to start the movement.
Kentucky will also be placed, its entire athletics department, on 2 years of probation because there were also in this agreement with the NCAA several violations by Kentucky swimming and diving. including their coach for multiple years, pushing kids way past the 20-hour-a-week limit.
There's also, some more sinister reporting that has happened within that program over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That is a lot worse than that.
And that coach has now quit. And quit
should have
is
been fired.
Quit is probably kind.
Yeah.
So
should have been publicly fired.
So don't, I wouldn't expect this to have too much of an impact on Kentucky's football season. They do have, Mark Stoops did announce that 4 players are likely to miss the entire season because of injuries sustained in the spring and summer, though. So, but it has nothing to do with this.
The fake hospital jobs.
That's terrible. I mean, seriously.
It's pretty messed up.
Scam in a hospital? Come on, man. Come on. And your own university, your university's complicit in some way?
I was going to say, I don't know if the hospital's getting scammed. It sounds like they were, at least we're being led to believe that they are accomplices here.
Yeah.
They're in on it.
Nobody in athletics knew.
Because
So who comes to you? Like, what's the Kentucky equivalent?
Somebody's got to send the check.
Yeah.
You know?
What's the? I don't know. Like, we have the horseshoe, which is sort of the nickname for like the administration. Up on the horseshoe. Well, I don't know what UK's equivalent is, but who, like at Bama, it's like the capstone.
Oh, it's just a big KFC building.
Got a dude that looks like Colonel Sanders.
It's just Colonel Sanders. Mitch Barnhart actually just dresses up as Colonel Sanders every day. Like that's the official uniform of the job, like the same way the Pope has to wear certain things every day. If you are Mitch Barnhart, the athletic director at the University of Kentucky, you have to dress like Harlan Sanders every day. Got to talk like him too.
That would be something.
Yeah. So Mitch Barnhart was notified by Pony Express this morning that they had to vacate those wins, and that they've agreed. Both parties now have agreed to the terms of punishment.
Oh, all right. Let's move on before we. Let's just move on. The Miami Dolphins
looking good.
The Miami Dolphins have restructured Tyreek Hill's deal. It will keep him amongst the highest paid receivers in football. It's a $90 million 3-year extension with $65 million guaranteed. The $106.5 million in updated fully guaranteed money is the most ever for a wide receiver, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Hill is now 30 years old, said, hey, listen, I don't want to get traded. I just want to get paid. Family loves it in Miami. Get me paid. And they got him paid. So now you got Tua paid, which is good. You got Waddle paid. That's good. I hope they can tackle. Either that or they're going to outscore people, by getting into the 40s every game, which is harder than you think in the National Football League.
That is actually my strategy on video games all the time. I just try to score a lot of points.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Make scoreboard light up real big.
And finally, Braves fans, after a disappointing weekend that saw the Braves split at home with the Marlins.
They're good.
Yeah. They're a AAA team.
They're a really good AAA team.
They are, and they took 2 of 4 from the Braves. But the Braves did have bad news today. Reynaldo Lopez, who's had a breakout season as a Braves starter, is now on the 15-day IL with right forearm inflammation. It's retroactive to Friday, even though they announced it today. He is in his first year, 7-4 with a 2.06 in 19 starts. 2.06.
He's been really good.
He is killing it, man.
He's been really good.
He's been killing it. Max Fried did not look good yesterday. Now Ronaldo is on the shelf. The Braves are just a half game up in that wild card chase. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. It's getting
But you're only, 6.5 back of the Phillies in first?
Yeah.
Still, somehow?
Phillies have finally gone into a slump for the first time this year. About time. It's baseball.
They couldn't win like that forever.
No
one does.
No. But too late to make any moves, man. You're dancing with who you brought, or who brung you, as it were. That's our Integrated Media headlines of the day, brought to you by Integrated Media, 803-948-8327. Listen, you ready to get something done for football season? You need to call the guys at Integrated now, 803-948-8327. The best in home theater is brought to you by Integrated Media. Speaking of football, sound from Gamecock wide receiver coach Mike Furry on his group and what they're working on in the early days of camp. That'll be on the other side. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Homeowners, you love where you live. You and the family very comfortable now. You've been there for a long time. You built up some equity as well, but you look around and go, "Whoa, kitchen could use a little update," or "Man, might need another bathroom for the kids," or just a place to have a lot more fun as a family. Now is a great time to make some home improvements and take advantage of some good rates from Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They've been serving the Midlands for more than 85 years, and their home equity loans offer great low rates, plus lower closing costs and application fees than the big banks. And when you unlock your home's equity, you can access that line of credit over a 10-year draw. You might have one little project now, one a little bit bigger later on. Don't borrow all one big lump sum and pay all your interest on that. Instead, use it when you need it. Apply today at palmettocitizens.org or stop into any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. My wife and I are members. We love what they've done for us, and we think you will too. Palmetto Citizens. Achieve your potential. Twenty minutes after 5 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Before we get to some sound from Coach Furry talking Gamecock football, I want to remind you that the ultimate season ticket giveaway is back. One winner gets season tickets to every Carolina home football, baseball, and basketball game. That's men's and women's basketball. It's 4 sports, tickets to all of them all school year long. You can register by logging on to 1075thegame.com. As Terry Ford says, find the clicky, spinny thingy.
Very descriptive.
That says Ultimate Season Ticket 2.0. It might even be a picture of either like Terry's smiling face or Gunner or nobody. I don't know. I haven't looked yet because I can't win. So, I mean, I'm not going to try to.
What's the point?
Yeah, I can't mess up the web traffic at that
Should
point.
just make it cocky. He's
That'd
a
be fun.
celebrity.
But click on the Ultimate Season Ticket 2.0. Actually, it says here now it's on the media reel. Wow, industry term.
Wow.
I like spinny clicky thing a whole lot better.
Honestly, it's more descriptive than media reel.
Yeah, media reel sounds way too official, man. What are we doing around
It
here?
almost sounds like
sports
a little
radio.
snooty.
Media reel.
Oh, good gold. Click on the media reel.
Like last year, we'll announce the 3 finalists, and they'll be at the golf tournament. It says here they will have to show up at the. That's what it says in the notes. They will have to show up at the golf tournament. I'm reading verbatim.
You can't win this remotely.
I'm reading this verbatim here, kids. And then we will announce the winner. It's sponsored by Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic in Irmo. Good luck. That's a hell of a prize, man.
That's a lot of tickets.
Speaking of Carolina football, let's start there. Coach Mike Furry just hired by Shane Beamer in the offseason. And let's just go in order here. We'll start with number 7. Now, you may think to yourself, man, he's got a lot of dudes to work with. A lot of them haven't played here. He's new. But he says that actually can be a positive.
Yeah, I think it's a positive. I think sometimes when you have too many guys coming back that have been around, especially in a competitive room like we have, there's sometimes you can get comfortable and now with guys that it's so refreshing that you got a lot of guys that new faces, or you got the freshmen coming in that both of them, DeBron and Mazio, that we're here in the spring and kind of like an acclimation, right? But now they're in and they know the playbook and they know what we're asking them to do and practice and all that good stuff. So now they get a chance to kind of come out and be comfortable and work their tail off and be competitive. And I think it's healthy. I think it's really healthy. So and it's exciting. We'll find out here as we get going over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I get his point. I might say that it might be nice to have a few more experienced guys. He's right. You don't ever want a sense of complacency, but I don't think Shane allows for that. I think that's one of the things that Shane talks about so much is that need for constant competition. And I think that's the double-edged sword in today's world, Elijah, that you can bring guys in through the transfer portal. Sometimes it's because there will be departures, for whatever reason, to the next level, to another school. But you can also bring some guys in to continue to create that level of competition. But otherwise, right now, I think this particular season, you can look at it as a positive, and some of this is spin. I'll fully admit that. Hey, it's wide open here, boys. Who wants to come, grab the brass ring, if you will? I think that's one of the things they're looking at this season.
Yeah, oh, definitely, and seeing and maybe developing a couple of other players on this roster too that you've gotten to look at for a while. But that's another thing with the new wide receivers coach too. It's like everybody's kind of starting with a clean slate. It doesn't matter if Delvin Campbell almost got for over 700 yards at Nevada. You got to come here and prove you can do it here too.
Yeah. Of course, a lot of folks rightly are focused on Nick Harbor in year 2, and Coach Furry was asked, "What more can you do to get him going?"
Yeah, I don't know if it's unlocked. I think when you look at any of the guys, I think it's developed, right? I think it's just guys learning how to play the game, being comfortable with what we're asking them to do, becoming more confident in what we're asking them to do, become more consistent in what we're asking them to do. And I think that's all part of growth. I don't think that's people being locked into things they can't and can't do, or can and can't do. I just think when you look at him and some of the other guys in the room, they got to play ball, right? They got to play ball, and I think these next 3 weeks are going to be really neat for him and for a lot of the guys just to see how they develop, see how they pick stuff up. See, you don't play as fast as you can when you're thinking about a lot of stuff, and we all know he can run. We know there's a lot of guys in our room that can absolutely run, but you'll be at your fastest when you know what you're doing. And I think getting to that point is part of that development, and I think that's what I'm excited about, to see these guys get to that point.
It's Mike Furry on Nick Harbor. Again, last year, incredibly small sample size. We know there was no spring, but we know he was around. He was learning, so he was processing, some of the routes, watching what's going on, and just no physical contact for him in the spring. I don't know, and I'm anxious to hear more from Mike Furry in, say, 2 weeks. As much as they're going to be able to tell us, and some things you'll probably want to keep close to the vest. Sometimes they might have a scrimmage that they keep behind closed doors. What's the biggest thing that Nick is concerned with in his own mind right now? What is it? Is it route running? Is it, he made, and it was interesting. And you were over there for some of it, like 208 balls per day that he wanted to catch. Like, I'm not sure what that number is, but that's
how you get to that number.
Yeah, that was the number we heard, through the jugs machine, and we're hearing a lot of that. So clearly he believes that catching the football, is something that everybody has to work on, but that he really knows he needs to do it, and he's putting in the work. Mm-hmm. But I like what Mike said there. You're going to be at your fastest when you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
So, and that comes with confidence.
Yeah, confidence. Confidence is just a ton of reps, man. This is a guy that didn't play the position in high school. He learned it for the first time at the SEC level, and he even tried telling you as much last year at Media Days when he himself, Nick Harbor, was saying, you're going to have to curb your expectations a little bit. I'm learning the position. This is the year where now you have played it for a year. Now you have to make a jump to be a constant contributor on this offense.
It's going to be fun to watch. And, again, the room is full. Tell you what, I got a couple more I want to get to, but I don't have time to talk about them, and we're getting ready to be up against it. So we'll continue some sound from Coach Furry as part of the drive around. Also have a couple of injury notes to tell you about a couple of teams that, unfortunately, aren't on Carolina's schedule anymore. That and more coming up as you listen to the Postgame Show.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. We got two big ones. One with the right lane blocked on 26 eastbound between 77 and exit 116 and exit 119. We also have an accident that has two right lanes blocked, so traffic is moving even slower on 77 northbound just after US 21 in exit 24. We have some more minor accidents on Hardscrabble Road at Clemson Road, another one on 20 westbound before Broad River Road and exit 65, one on 26 west at Harbison Boulevard and exit 103, two on 77, one northbound at Killian Road and exit 22, and the other at South Carolina 277 and exit 18.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Monday. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Again, if you've just tuned in today, we had this as part of the headlines at the top of the hour. The University of Kentucky will vacate football games from 2021, and the entire athletics department will be on 2 years of probation because of rules violations in 21 and 22. The school and the NCAA's Committee on Infractions reached an agreement on a case that saw at least 11 football players receive payment for work not performed in the spring of 21 through the spring of 22. And it is being reported that that work was at the University of Kentucky Hospital. And yet no athletics staffers knew. In fact, as Sam Kahn writes, Kentucky and the NCAA enforcement staff agreed that no Kentucky athletics staff member knew or reasonably should have known about the payments, so the program will not be hit with a failure to monitor violation. Again, no athletics staff member reasonably should have known. If they could they unreasonably have known?
Like they knew, but like they weren't supposed to know.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing here? I
Dug through someone's phone and found this information out.
I don't know what that means. Like, I'm smart. I'm not Einstein. All right. I don't have a PhD in anything, but the whole thing about, on my leg and tell me it's raining. Like, I'm not dumb.
Well, that's what they're doing.
I know.
Because this is code for we agreed for the penalty to look as if you weren't knowledgeable of this, despite common sense telling you this cannot happen at the university hospital without the athletic department having any idea it happened.
No Kentucky athletics staff member reasonably should have known.
They agreed between Punisher and the group being punished, agreed that they didn't know or could have reasonably known. It sounds like, oh, thank you for turning yourself in. We'll throw you a bone here and tell the public that there's no way you could have known. Therefore, the probation, the vacated wins, all of this is an adequate punishment because there's no way you could have known. Yeah.
So 10. That was one of Mark Stoops' 2 10-win seasons. So 10 career wins for Mark Stoops are gone. 10 wins off the Kentucky record books.
Does that mean the Citrus Bowl gets the trophy back? Because if it's chilling there in the athletic department.
Now, you know what? Yeah, actually.
Do you get trophies removed from the facility?
You should. They make you take down banners.
I'm curious about that now. That just popped into my head.
Yeah.
I wonder if that is something the NCAA enforcement staff actually follows through with, is going by and making sure that 2021 Citrus Bowl championship trophy no longer resides in Lexington, Kentucky.
I think it should.
The Citrus Bowl trust or whoever runs it gets to keep it.
And that is one of those things where you can kind of feel it, because otherwise, I've said, again, vacating wins is dumb. I don't like it.
Can't wipe my memory.
Like I say, I know, exactly. I know why they do it, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. But when they take down a banner, or they make you take, something off a football stadium or whatever. But yeah, in this case, taking a bowl championship trophy out of a case in wherever, hall, office, whatever.
Because they display them.
Yeah. That's actually, you should look that up.
Ask somebody.
It's a good idea.
I'll go take it myself.
Yeah.
I'll keep it.
A couple of things here. Again, we're all kind of bummed around here, at least most people are. I know I am, that Carolina won't play Tennessee, Florida, or Georgia for the next couple of years. But we do have some early news on both teams. First off, the bad news for Tennessee, projected starter Jordan Thomas, who is basically kind of they call it a star on the Tennessee defense. It's kind of a hybrid nickel.
You're a tweener.
25 games the past 2 seasons, 18 total tackles, 2 for loss, and a blocked punt. Is done for the season. It does not say specifically other than he injured his right knee, according to our buddy Chris Lowe, who is, of course, based in Knoxville. And Jordan Thomas will undergo surgery later this week. So that's bad news for a Tennessee secondary that is already pretty banged up, or at least inexperienced, if not banged up. To Florida we go next. Down in Gainesville, running back Montrell Johnson is week to week, according to what's happening down there. He was injured during the first couple of days of camp. According to the Associated Press, his surgery was minor, and he is expected back in time for the season opener against Miami on August 31st in the Swamp. He came over from Louisiana with Billy Napier, and in the last couple of seasons, he's had more than 800 yards in each of them. 817 yards, 5 touchdowns. Last year, 841 yards and 10 touchdowns in 2022. He's been very good.
Very productive.
Yeah, he's been good. He's been good. But the good news is he should be back in time for the game against the U. Of course, Florida lost Trevor Etienne to Georgia in the transfer portal. All right, staying with some Gamecock football now as we continue to drive around the SEC. A couple more cuts that we want to get to here. Number 11, please, Elijah Campbell from Coach Mike Furry, Gamecock wide receiver coach. Again, a lot of bodies, a lot of body types. How, Coach, do you figure out who plays where?
Obviously, a lot of it has to do with schematics, and so obviously we're not going to get into schematics. But I think the best thing is nowadays is put your best 3 wideouts on the field, right? And I think that's the healthiest thing to do. And there's a lot of intangibles that have to that correlate into becoming the best 3 wideouts in the room. But and that's our job over the next 3 weeks to get that going and get it ready. But that's what I think. I think you don't just place a guy here and there just because that's what I think. You put the best 3 guys out there that can play football, and it's our job to work to their traits and move them around and do whatever we need to do to make sure we showcase their abilities.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's the right answer early. Eventually, though, as you said, we're not going to get into schematics. You can't really say, well, what we need to do here in this look, then you're giving away too much to the opponent.
But we're in this personnel.
Right, yeah. So
Josh Simon's getting the ball every time.
So that's the answer that you kind of figure you would get. And then finally, just the next one on the list there, Elijah. Mike Furry has a hell of a story. A guy who was undersized, had to really work his tail off, work his way up through the collegiate ranks, got onto a football team, undrafted, then became a very good football player in the NFL for a long, long time. Got out of the business, became a head coach, and now he's in the SEC looking to kind of grow his star from that perspective. So he's got quite a story. What is his message to a room full of guys that are trying to do a lot of what he was doing?
I just talked to him a little bit ago, actually, and I just started off really by telling him that there's been unbelievable camaraderie in this room over the last 2 months. The guys have been phenomenal. The relationships have been, we've built great relationships. There's a lot of respect for the room. There's, you got new guys, you got returners, you got transfers, you got freshmen. There's a lot of things that are going on, and our guys have done a great job of doing that. Starting tomorrow is going to be a healthy battle to compete for those 7, 8, 9 spots that travel. And what that's going to take is preparation. It's going to take producing. and that's going to start as we get going. And I think that's the best way to do it. Coach says it all the time: your reps create your reps. And sometimes when you don't have a room that has the talent or the depth, it's hard to stand to that, right? But when you do have room, I think that we have with the depth, that competition, those reps are going to create reps, and it's going to be able to, filter guys out. But at the same time, it's healthy, and the guys respect each other, and that's what I'm expecting from the room. And they push each other and they help each other, and that's how we'll become a better.
Good stuff from Mike Furry. Again, again, this is a debatable point, and I wouldn't. This is not maybe a hill I will die on, but as it stands right now, in my opinion, Mike Furry maybe doesn't have the hardest assistant coaching job, but I think it's one of the more demanding ones. And it might be the hardest.
Might be the most important.
Most important. I was going to go there next, too. Might be the most important. There's just, look, you've had spring a little bit, but you've got to develop some guys right now, and some guys didn't get it here until this summer. But there's just really not a lot of known over there.
Known or fit.
You're right.
You don't know how good some of them are and how well they actually fit into what you want the offense to be, which is why Dow Loggins needs to be clear and concise, with that entire room about what the mission is, about what we want this offense to look like. Because if you want to run more vertical passing game, you got 2 or 3 guys you can maybe do that with. If you want to run maybe a RPO style West Coast offense to fit the talents of Lenore Sellers or Robbie Ashford, which are 2 guys with similar skill sets, then you're going to have it look that way. Mm-hmm. There's going to have to be a whole lot of good synergy between those 2 men right there, and Mike Furry specifically, with this room, has the most to deal with.
We'll have more from coaches throughout the week as, again, Carolina August camp is in full swing now ahead of the season opener against Old Dominion. That's the drive around the SEC, brought to you by Herndon Chevy. Save $20,000 on new Silverados. Together, let's drive. Come back on the other side. A final thought from the 2 of us on a big event that happened over the weekend, but not the soccer game. And we'll update the poll question as well when the postgame show returns.
by Thompson. Visually, we think he got it. They're working on the photo. Fred Curley pushed him all the way. Noah Lyles is looking anxiously.
There you go. That was the NBC call, and I felt bad for those guys last night because in the end, it did look it. I thought Kashane Thompson got it too.
I did too.
I'll be perfectly honest with you.
Initial viewing, I did not think Noah Lyles won that.
I thought, obviously it was all by a nose. Welcome back in, Jay and Elijah with you. But it was indeed Noah Lyles that gets it by 0.05 of a second. The entire race was split by about 0.2 of a second. And the guy that finished 9th had a faster time than the winning time Carl Lewis had in 1988 in his second gold medal. That's how far we've come in this race. But Noah, listen, whatever it takes, man, he is the gold medalist. Now he prepares for the 200. He wants to become the first American to do that and forever, to win the sprint, both sprints. He's got he can talk the talk, man. And so far he's backing it up, even if it was that close. But, and he even said, I saw his press conference, that he told Kashane, I thought you had it, man. I really thought you had it, and I think a lot of us did. But congratulations to Noah Lyles. I love that race. I know it's amazing how we all hype it up for so long for something so short.
That's less than 10 seconds.
But I've said before too, I'll never forget Usain Bolt in 2008 in the first of his three. Usain Bolt. And just when he hit about the 50-meter mark, I've said before, I was sitting in my house, basically in my den at least, alone, and said, "Oh," and I can't say what I said out loud because I'd never seen a man do that before. I was like,
pull away that fast.
It's like the little thing in Mario Kart when you can roll over it and it speeds you up for just a second. That's like what he ran over.
It's like little mushrooms.
Yeah, it's like sped him along, man. So, but way to go, Noah. That was great stuff. Scotty Scheffler also was just brilliant yesterday. A 62, no bogeys, comes all the way back. John Rahm, who I like, again, I've said before, John Rahm's the only live golfer now, and he's only been on the tour over there a year. He's the only live golfer that I will pull for because I just really like John Rahm. I think he's a great dude, and it would be kind of cool for him to win at least next door to his home country, even if he's basically an American now. But Scotty is an American still, and was just brilliant. I mean, and the putts, it was awesome.
From hardened criminal to Olympic gold medalist.
I felt like I was watching a major because it was nothing but big names. Hideki and Tommy Fleetwood, John Rahm, Schauffele. I mean, it was named, dude. It was a major.
Yeah, that was the 5th major this year.
It was a major.
The Olympics.
It was great. And for anybody, look, anybody that thinks it doesn't mean anything, if you haven't seen the medal ceremony for golf yesterday, watch it and tell me it doesn't mean something. I don't even want to say what you see. Just watch, just look it up. You can find it. Just watch the golf gold medal ceremony and tell me that things like this don't matter.
Or Novak Djokovic beating Carlos Arias. I mean,
tell me that doesn't matter.
Arias has kicked his can the last couple of years in Grand Slam events, and Djokovic upsets him in the Olympics to win a gold for Serbia. And you have not seen Djokovic celebrate a win like that in his entire career. And that was stunning to me.
And these are dudes that have made, I mean, what's Joker? He's got to be worth hundreds of millions now. He's done so well.
He's
Scotty's on his way.
Ever.
Yeah, Scotty's on his way to hundreds of millions.
Like Djokovic has won more than you could possibly win in that sport twice.
Yeah.
That's how much he's won. But he won that for the first time, and it was as
cool,
expressive as you'll ever see.
It was very cool. It was definitely very cool and worth your time. But good stuff yesterday. I love the Olympics.
That's awesome.
I love the Olympics.
I hate that it's coming to an end.
I know they always end, man. They always got to end, and they always give you that itch for wanting them as soon as they can come back around again. It'll be a while. Also this weekend, we talked about it a lot earlier in the program, not as much this hour, but I just want to tip my cap, and I know Elijah feels the same way, to what happened Saturday night at Williams-Brice between Liverpool and Man United, what the university did, what the city did, what those that work for the state did, everybody coming together to pull off an amazing event, easily the biggest event that this city has had sporting-wise other than what happens with the Gamecocks. And just as big, sold-out crowd, two of the biggest names in all of sports came to Columbia, South Carolina. Not an NFL town, not anywhere. They didn't go to Montreal or Toronto or Mexico City, Columbia, South Carolina, and they pulled it off. There's always going to be traffic, y'all, when you put 80,000 people into a 1 square mile area.
Yep.
So I'm not going to let that mar the night, but I thought everything was brilliant.
I mean, you got one of the greatest cultural crossovers you could possibly imagine with Premier League soccer and SEC football.
I loved it.
And I think you did about as well as you could do in making that happen.
Agreed.
It was awesome.
And I hope we get to do it again real soon. That's it for us today. Thanks for Tony Annan for joining us. For Elijah, I'm Jay. We'll do it all again tomorrow. See you.